What's the first thing you think of when you think of a football player? Or when you think of a good football player or a great football player, an elite football player, whatever adjective you want to use to describe how good they are? More specifically, what's the first thing you think of when you think of a really good defensive football player? You probably think of toughness. You probably think of physicality, maybe tenacity. You probably think of relentlessness. Maybe you also think of things like playing with great technique, especially for an edge player like the player we're going to talk about this evening in this video. You probably think of swim moves, spin moves, power moves, the ability to get off the line, get to the quarterback, and just ruin his life for 60 minutes on a Saturday afternoon in the fall. You're probably picturing guys like Taco Charlton, Aidan Hutchinson, Rashawn Gary. You know, the list goes on and on. Derek Moore for the past couple of years for this team. Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, Mozzie Smith, Chris Jenkins. Michigan football has a long and storied history of developing and getting and recruiting and signing and playing, straight up playing, great defensive line prospects for going on decades now. I mean, you can go all the way back into the 90s and 2000s even. What if I told you that a transfer this season by the name of John Henry Daley is next in line for Michigan football in terms of the next great defensive line player? And I know some of you may have already heard of him. In fact, most of you probably already have. It's probably why you clicked on this video. Like, share, and subscribe. As always, we'd really appreciate the support. And we appreciate the continued support, by the way, from the people that have already subscribed. But I do think even for those who have heard of him, and I try to keep my ear to the ground when it comes to Michigan football. Obviously, I'm hosting a channel once again, trying to, talk about this team. I'm not going to say cover this team. I'm by no means an insider or anyone who's really in the know, but I try to pay attention to what other channels and content creators and those in the media and people more connected than I have to say about this team. It seems like John Henry Daley committed to this team, and some people were excited, some people were happy. But I also feel like it's been a bit overshadowed in a way by some of the other, Celesi Moa, Smith Snowden. Obviously, a hot topic for the season has been the coaching staff coming in and Jason Beck and what he can do to improve Bryce Underwood's game. Savion Hyder, coming in as the former #1 ranked running back recruit in the nation out of high school. All the discussion, all the talk about those other guys, I think has kind of overshadowed the subject of John Henry Daley in a way. Interestingly enough, I think I do think it's frankly really interesting because the more I watch the film on this kid, the more I look into his game, the more I think, comment if you think I'm being hyperbolic here, but he's the next Aidan Hutchinson. He really could be. He really could be, and that's why I wanted to take some time this evening to talk about how big of a deal it is. And now I do have to add the caveat that he's obviously coming off of an Achilles injury, and we all know what an Achilles injury can mean for a lot of people. Correct me if I'm wrong, it might actually be his ACL. Now that I think about it, it might actually be his ACL. He tore something. It was a bad injury in the final game of the year last year. But in the 11 games leading up to that injury, he had 24 solo tackles, 17 and a half tackles for loss, 11 and a half sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. If he had done that in the Big Ten, he'd be an all-conference player. In fact, if I remember correctly, he was an all-conference player in the Big 12 last season. 11 and a half sacks is again, if he was able to replicate that at Michigan, that'd be nearing Aidan Hutchinson territory. And the more you watch his game, the more you think, if he can come back from that injury, again, massive caveat here, if he can come back from that injury at full health, watch out, because John Henry Daley might be one of, if not the best edge player in this conference. I'm not kidding. I know there's some really good edge players out there. There's also some guys who look to be great edge players for this team this season and in the coming seasons. And by all means and measures, it looks like John Henry Daley will be ready to go by the beginning of the season. He was apparently medically cleared for working out and participating in fall camp back on June 1st, so he's going to give that a full go. And we'll really see then, we'll start to get the reports coming in the beginning of August. I'm excited. It's less than a month away now. We're less than a month away from fall camp. I can't wait for it to get here. So we'll see more as the season gets closer. But again, if, and I know it's a big if, he comes back to close to 100%, this kid can really do it all. He's also highly touted by the NFL draft people out there looking at becoming a high-level draft pick, and I certainly see why. When you talk about edge play, you usually want to see a guy who, coaches will talk about this all the time, who have the complete skill set of having 3 good moves. You want an inside move, a power move, you want an outside move, the speed and the ability to dip the shoulder and get around a guy, and then you also want some kind of third move, be it, swim move, hand fighting, or that kind of spin move you see, and you see it, by the way, from Aidan Hutchinson sometimes in the NFL these days, and I'm sure you've probably seen it on the highlight reel that we're playing currently. John Henry Daley possesses that kind of change-up move, that change of pace that can really throw a tackle off and allow him to get to the quarterback. This man is a rare combination of both power and speed that you just don't see every day at a defensive end. And he's incredibly disciplined against the run game, which I think really stands out and will really help him in the Big Ten against a lot of run first offenses. Sometimes you get a guy and he's a great pass rusher. He's got a great speed move. He can work around any tackle in the league, but then a team runs his direction and he doesn't know how to set a hard run edge, or he's just not capable of it. That's not the case with John Henry Daley. You can leave him in there on run downs and trust him to stop the run. He'll also get to the quarterback on passing downs. He's a Swiss Army knife, to use a bit of a cliche, of a defensive end, and he does it all incredibly well. I think if he's able to come back, and I know it's a big if he's able to come back at full strength, he will be an absolute game changer for Michigan football, in 2026 in Jay Hill's defense. Of course, having played for Kyle Whittingham already at Utah. And by the way, interestingly enough, he started his career out at BYU as a freshman, then transferred to Utah and is now transferring again, this time to come to Michigan. He's already got the experience in similar systems. He knows Kyle Whittingham and this coaching staff well. It's an easy transition for him. If he just recovers from that injury, watch out. He could be one of the best players in the entire conference, and I think will really impact this defense in a great way. Let me know what you guys think of John Henry Daley and the transfer to Michigan football. I know the transfer actually happened a while ago, but of course, as you probably noticed, we're just picking this channel back up again. Feel free in the comments to let me know what you think of this transfer, what impact you think he'll have, and always, and I'm stumbling here at the end. And as always, like, comment, share, all that good stuff, subscribe, and as always, be kind to other people out there.